You'll never want to build retirement income from rental properties again after you hear what I'm about to share with you. Because I spent 20 years investing in real estate before I realized something that honestly scared me. I could end up selling every property I owned one day and still have very little left to show for it in terms of real retirement income. And that realization completely changed the way I looked at my retirement properties. Because the biggest lie in retirement investing is that rental properties automatically create passive income and long-term financial freedom. But after 2 decades of investing, I learned the hard way that assets on paper and actual retirement security are two very different things. And in this video, I'm going to share some of the painful lessons that I learned, the numbers that finally opened my eyes, and why I no longer believe that rental properties are the best path for retirement income for most people. And by the end of this video, you may start looking at real estate investing very differently too. So let's dive in. First of all, one of the biggest assumptions that I made as a real estate investor was believing that property values would always rise over time. Because that's what the gurus told us, right? Just hold on long enough and real estate always goes up. But what I discovered is that markets can go sideways, sometimes for years, and leave you holding the bag. And if your retirement plan depends heavily on appreciation, or if you suddenly find that you have to sell a rental property quickly, you may end up in a very risky position. Because appreciation and equity are not income. You can own a rental property for years, deal with all the stress, all the maintenance, and all the risk, and still not build the kind of retirement income that you thought you were building. And believe me, that was a major wake-up call for me. And here's something else I want to share with you too, because this is a part that nobody really talks about nearly enough. What about all the expenses of a rental property? You've got property taxes. They're usually going up. Insurance premiums. They're usually going up for less coverage. Utilities going up. Maintenance costs going up, not to mention interest rates going up. And the frustrating part is this: you may own the rental property, but you have very little control over many of the expenses surrounding that property. And what started happening to me was realizing that even when rents went up, my expenses went up too. And far too often, the costs were going up faster than my rents were. So all that cash flow I thought I was building for retirement never really felt stable or predictable for that matter. And when you're thinking about retirement income, predictability matters a lot. But the biggest lesson of all was realizing how quickly a rental property can turn from an asset into a liability. All it takes is one vacancy, one tenant stops paying the rent, one new furnace or a roofing job, and suddenly months of cash flow can disappear overnight, and you're the one covering all the monthly expenses out of your own savings. You got to pay the mortgage payment. You still got to pay the taxes. You still got to pay the insurance, utilities, and maintenance. All while little or no income is coming in from that property. And after doing all that math one day back in August of 2022, I started asking myself a very uncomfortable question. Does this really match the kind of retirement income that I want to depend on? Because here's the thing, retirement income needs to be reliable. But rental income far too often is conditional on everything going perfectly. And I don't know about you, but I don't live in a perfect world. And I started realizing that I could spend decades managing properties only to end up financially disappointed and emotionally exhausted, possibly even broke at the end of it all. So now after sharing all that with you, I'm a little bit curious here. Have you ever owned a rental property that turned into more stress, more expenses, and a lot less profit than you expected? Let me know down in the comments, because I think that a lot more people are experiencing this than most real estate investors would care to admit. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that real estate can never work. For some people, it absolutely does. And I still do own rental properties. But for me personally, I realized the biggest problem wasn't the properties themselves. It was realizing that they didn't match the kind of reliable retirement income and lifestyle that I actually wanted. Because I wanted income that felt more predictable, simpler, more scalable, and far less stress. So if you watch this video to now and it's challenging the way you think about rental properties and your retirement income, and if you're wondering what I'm personally doing now instead of relying on rentals for my retirement, here's what I want you to do next. Go and watch this video right here. Because in this video, I'm going to break down the nuts and bolts of the digital business and how it can create more reliable retirement income without the constant stress, the unpredictable expenses, and the cash flow uncertainty that way too often comes with rental properties. So if you're serious about building income for retirement, this video is going to be your next step. I'll see you there.